The scripture reading for this morning is taken from the book of Matthew, second chapter, the first through the 10th verse. Now, when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east and are come to worship him. When Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and all of Jerusalem with him. And when he had gathered all the chief priests and scribes of the people together, he demanded of them where Christ should be born. And they said unto him, in Bethlehem of Judea. For thus it is written by the prophets, and thou, Bethlehem, in the land of Judea, are not the least among the princes of Judea, for out of thee shall come a governor that shall rule my people Israel. And when Herod, when he had privately called the wise men, inquired of them diligently what time the star appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem and said, go and search diligently for the young child. And when ye have found him, bring me word again, that I may also come and worship him also. When they had heard the king, they departed. And lo, the star which they saw in the east went before them till it came and stood over where the young child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceedingly great joy. And so it is the scripture reading of Matthew's second chapter, the first through the 10th verse, the birth of Jesus in Bethlehem. Good morning and many blessings to you. As we prepare ourselves for the celebration of Christmas, the celebration of the birth of the Christ child, the man that we know to be Jesus, the Son of God. Let us understand that this story is twofold. There's the outer of Christmas, and there's the inner of Christmas. The masses of people celebrate the historical life of Jesus. There's the commercial side of Christmas. And the commercial side of Christmas, we give gifts, and we especially like to see the happy faces on the little young ones Christmas Day when they awaken and know that Santa Claus has come and gone and left them gifts. Santa Claus has come and gone. There's no mention of the Christ. For it is all about the commercial side of Christmas. But we, as spiritual beings on this path, have to know and to internalize that Christmas is more than the commercial side of life. Although it is a time of giving of gifts, spending time with family and friends, enjoying good food, good company, laughter, and joy. The deeper meaning of Christmas is a spiritual one. Now, as it said, we celebrate the birth of Jesus, the man, the historical Jesus. But when we truly celebrate Christmas, we should be celebrating the birth of the Christ within us. Every day in life, the Christ is born within some individual. Every day, the Christ consciousness is awakened in mankind. And so, as spiritual beings upon this path of spiritual growth and unfoldment, we must know, internalize that Christmas is a day of spiritual awakening within us. The Bible states that the three wise men sought out Jesus, the birthplace. Metaphysically and spiritually, the wise men represents the wisdom that is within our souls. For when we have truly become wise, we have awakened to the very truth, the very essence of what we are. And as they said, they went forth in search. For they followed a star in the east. And the star in the east, we must understand and know that the center of our forehead, which is metaphysically termed or symbolized the Christ consciousness, it is the Christ eye at the center of our foreheads that the wise men turn toward the east. This is the east in the center of our forehead where the star appeared. And the star is the intuition, that light, that when we meditate and look through the center of our forehead, the star of the east shall appear. And it is this light that guided them to the birthplace of the Christ. But that birthplace is not some place outside of ourselves. That birthplace is within us. That is why that as we journey upon this path of spiritual growth and unfoldment, we are taught, we are told, we are directed to turn within. And as we turn within, with our focus at the center of our forehead, there you will behold the star. And let me say this to some folks that have not experienced this. When you truly start to focus and to meditate at the center of your forehead, what you will experience in the beginning is little flashes of light, almost like fireflies, little flashes of light. To some, it will appear like little small lights, like a flashlight, flashing and flashing and flashing. And as you continue to focus and meditate at the center of your forehead, those multitude of flashing lights will come together and form one big light within your head. And when you see and behold the beauty, the brightness of this light in the center of your forehead, then it is called and considered the star in the east. And you meditate on this light, you infuse your consciousness into this light, and then you will come to realize in time that your whole body is a body of light. And when you can internalize and see this light that illuminates every fiber of your being, then that Christ consciousness will come forth into your being. Every day then will be a day of celebration. Every day then will be a day of Christmas. For Christmas truly is a time of giving. It's a time of sharing. It's a time to extend your hands to those that are less fortunate. I wanted to share something with you about my life in those early years. Christmas for me did not come until later on in life. For as a child, there was no Christmas tree. There were no lights. And at times there were very little foods. And it was no use in asking Mother, how come Santa Claus didn't stop by this house? And I remember there was one time my mother said, well, maybe Santa forgot us and maybe he'll come next year. Well, it was nothing for us to do but to accept what Mother said, because there was not going to be a Santa that day or that Christmas. But we had an old wood stove in the kitchen where my mother would pair the meals. You put some wood in the stove or you put some coal in the stove. You start a fire And from that old wood stove, we cooked. We'd put water in what they call a basin and we bathed. We did everything on that wood stove. But in the evenings, just before bed, I would lift up the grates of that stove and look into the coals, the embers of the fire. And I would visualize, imagine all the good things. I would have my Christmas in the coals, the embers of the stove. I would see people. I would see all of those good things that I wanted to have. And I remember, and I might have shared this with you all, I used to always say to my mother, I wish that so and so would be so and so. And my mother would say to me as a young child, she would say, wish in one hand and SHIIT in the other, and see which one gets filled up the fastest. What a thing to say to a young child. But there was the things that my mother would say to me. But as a young child, there was times when I did not always accept what my mother said to me. And my mother would say to me at times, boy, your head is just as hard as a rock. Thank God for the hardness of my head at those times. Because there was things that were said to me that were not good for my growth and unfold. So as time went on, I still believed in Santa Claus. And even to this day, I believe in Santa Claus. Not as the jolly man we see at the mall in the red and white suit, but there's a spirit within the consciousness of humanity that is always giving, caring, sharing, blessing, and uplifting. By those beliefs, or that belief, I was lifted up. I was blessed to have people to come into my life to show me, to tell me, and to help guide me on a higher path of life. When those people came into my life, it was Christmas for me, regardless of what day it was. They came with a gift or gifts. They came with presents, something to lift me up, something to open wide the doors of life for me. Every day became a Christmas for me. And so as you go through life and you're meeting people that are reaching out to help you, to uplift you, to do healing with you, they are presenting you with the gifts and the presents of Christmas because they are giving truly the one gift that we all have within us, the gift of love. If we have not the gift of love to give to another, then there can be no Christmas. Not for you or for those that are seeking. Years in the past, I have shared with you all that I spend a lot of my life and time amongst the homeless. I spend a lot of times in the parks, on park benches. I spend a lot of time hanging around, some of you might not know, the fire barrels for those that were homeless. When you come around the fire barrel, you had to bring something, and usually you had to bring some wood or something to drink. Otherwise, you couldn't you couldn't hang around the fire barrels in the wintertime. But I came to know and to experience that even those that didn't have, they truly understood the time of Christmas. They would say Merry Christmas. And that was all that they had to offer. But it said to me that within the very depths of their being, they understood the meaning of Christmas. Christmas is that which you give from your heart. It is that which you give from your soul. For as we celebrate Christmas, we truly celebrate the birth of the Christ consciousness in the man, Jesus. And as the story is told according to scripture, Jesus was born in a manger amongst the animals, not in some palace, on a soft bed, sweet music, born in a stable, the sounds of the cattle. And we can imagine being born in a stable, the smell that was there. And there came the three wise men who had been informed of the birth of this child. This Christ consciousness, the birth of this Christ consciousness takes place within us, a stable within us. And the animals represents all of our animal instincts that are within us. And if I may say, a lot of the negativity and destructive thoughts within us. But still the Christ child is within us. And we have to bring forth this Christ that is within us. For we will never, and I know that there are many that look forward and believe that one day that they will meet Jesus. The historical Jesus of more than 2,000 years ago. We will never know him in physical form. We can only know the Christ that was in him. And I've said many times that if you're walking down the street, or if there came a knock on your door, and you would say, "Who is it?" And especially at this time of year, and a voice on the other side of the door would say, "It's Jesus." You would probably say, "Hold on. And you would get on your phone and you will dial 911 and say, send the police. There's a man knocking on my door saying that he is Jesus. We will not accept the physical form of someone saying that they are Jesus. And of course, in the Spanish language, Jesus is spelled the same as the name Jesus in English. But until you come to know the Christ within you, you will not know and accept the Christ outside of you. You will not recognize it in someone else. Even if Jesus materialized in physical form, the Son of God, and stood before you and said, I am the Son of God, Jesus. If you do not know the Christ within you, you will not recognize the Christ in that form that is before you. And so as we move forward in this holiday season, celebrating Christmas, not the commercial side of Christmas. And I said to the parents, you got to do your shopping for your kids because Christmas to them represents material things. But as grown folks that are upon this path of spiritual growth and unfoldment, Christmas is that which is in your heart. The giving of your love, the giving of your peace, your joy, the giving of your prayers and your blessing for the upliftment of all mankind. This truly was the mission of the man Jesus. He came to elevate, to lift up, to bless, and to heal the needs of humanity. We as spiritual beings upon this path of spiritual growth and unfoldment, if we are to follow in the footsteps of the man Jesus, then we must bring forth the Christ consciousness that is within us, that we may continue to do the work that the man Jesus did. You see, we're all sons and daughters of the one source we call God. There's a scripture wherein Paul said, to those that believe were given the power to become the sons and daughters of God. To those that believe were given the power to become the sons and daughters of God. So what does that say? That Jesus was not the only begotten Son of God. That you and I, in our faith and belief, we can have the power, acquire the power to become the Christ just as the man Jesus. This is the meaning of what Christmas is. Let not the world so commercialize your life in believing that Christmas is all about the physical and material things. It's about the spiritual life. And so this day, as we awaken to the truth that is within us, we can confirm with conviction and with authority. Today, the Christ has risen within me. Today, the Christ is born within me. Today, I go forth upon this path, spreading the light of the Christ that I am. You are the light of Christmas that is flowing forth from the very depths of your soul. Let the light of I am that you are be a blessing to every man, woman, and child. Let this light feed their every spiritual need. Let it nourish them, let it uplift them, and let it set them upon the path of spiritual growth and unfoldment. And so it is. God bless.